thank you for being here. My name is Brian. I'm the school superintendent here, and I'm thrilled that you're here tonight to learn more, to understand the capital project, ask good questions. There isn't really a format after I present. Anybody here can ask questions. Okay? I have a little bit of an allergy, so forgive me if I clear my throat a few times. Additionally, I just want to say that I am blessed to be here and fortunate to be here in Grand Island. This is my 10th year as superintendent. And prior to this, I worked in West Seneca for 13 years as a principal for 10 and assistant superintendent for 3. And prior to that, I was a special education teacher for 16 years. If you do the math, I probably should be retired by now. All right. I'm 61, but I think 61 is the new 41. Would anybody agree? All right, perfect. I am curious, if you have a child in the district, just a show of hands, people with children in the district?
Well,
Thank
grandchildren.
you. Yes, that was the next question. If you have, thank you for raising your hand. If you have a child, if you have a grandchild in the district, okay, excellent. And if you're just a concerned citizen, I guess that's the rest of the group. So I'm happy that you're here, and I hope we can answer your questions. My wife and I lived in the city of Buffalo for 30 years. We have 4 children, and we moved to Grand Island when my son was exiting 8th grade at City Honors and coming here as a 9th grader. Sean graduated and had the best time here in Grand Island. Our other 3 children graduated from Buffalo Public Schools. And it was a concern for my wife. She was like, "Are you sure we should move to Grand Island?" And I said, "Yes, I'm the superintendent. It's great. He's going to love it." And I would say to you, and you probably know this already, if you, oh, I forgot to ask, who graduated from Grand Island High School here? Awesome. That is fantastic. So my son graduated, and I would say that he's met his best friends for life here at Grand Island. And that's really, really special as a dad and as his parents. So I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you care about your community. So thank you again. Additionally, I want to say that we have 2 board members in attendance today. Sue and Beth are here. So here's Beth and here's Sue. Beth is a trustee, brand new on the board this year, and Sue is our president. So I'm grateful that we have their support in the development of this. Also, I want to introduce our team. We have a district facilities team that's been meeting for years, and that is really maybe surprising to you. We have principals, we have assistant superintendents, we have board members. Glenn Bobeck was on our district facilities committee for years, so was Joy, so was Ashley, and when Glenn left the board, Roger Broker came on to our committee. Along with that committee, we have Young and Wright Architectural Firm that are part of our committee, and representing Young and Wright is Matt Cummings and Libby Krause. You guys just say hello. That's Young and Wright, the architects. Also, we're very blessed to have Vaughn Miracle from campus. Vaughn, if you could just say how many years you've been helping us with capital projects?
Yeah, sure. I was just thinking about that. It's been since 2012. So 2012, I actually started the Campus Construction Management Group, and Grand Island was my first project as a project manager with them. So back at that time, we had done the STEM edition, we had done the athletic complex, the track and field, the bleachers, several improvements throughout the district and throughout, of course, the 3 elementary schools at that time. We were back in 2018 to fight for the newer athletic complex, and several improvements at that time. So it's been a long history, and it's been an excellent partnership.
Also, I want to introduce Dr. Bob Merkel, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance.
Hi, everybody. Very excited to present this project to you tonight. We put a lot of thought, hard work with the community into this project, so very excited to show it to you tonight and answer all of your questions.
And, Matt, if you and Libby just want to say a few words as we get started.
It's been a long journey to get to this point. We've listened to a lot of the building committee's kind of questions and concerns, and I think collaboratively kind of put together a really solid project to present.
Perfect. So also on the screen is our financial advisor, Rick Timms. When we did our project in 2018, we had a different financial advisor. Very pleased to bring on Rick Timms. He is well-known across New York State. He was a superintendent, and he runs his own financial advising firm, and we really rely on his expertise as well. So tonight we'll go over scope, we'll go over the schedule, the financials. And it's important for the community to know that this is a $69.2 million project. So it's a big project, particularly in a time where there's inflation, right? There's economic stress, right, across the country. And we are very conscious of the fact that we want to focus on a warm, cool, safe, and dry environment for all of our buildings to the extent possible. And to do that, we've worked maybe 3 years as a committee looking at a building condition survey. Just raise your hand if you know that the state requires a building condition survey every 5 years. Just if you know that, okay? So that may be new information for most of you. And it's really, really important. The state does invest and give building aid back to school districts when we engage in capital improvement projects. This project, and you'll see later, will have about 71 to 72% back from the state in this $69.2 million project. So that's really, really important. The state wants us to invest in our buildings for the betterment of teaching and learning. And so they give us over 70% aid back. That's just really important. Additionally, I would say that every 5 years, we have to engage in a very comprehensive building survey, which isn't really a survey, it's just it's an examination of all of our physical properties and looking at all of the needs that are evident and looking at a long-term plan to see when those needs can be addressed over time. So that really is a driving force in forcing, and not in a negative way, forcing districts to really pay attention to the value of these buildings. I learned recently that we have $179 million worth of property as a school district on Grand Island. And I think all of you know what that means for yourselves in your homes. This, a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, we had rain coming through our roof on West River Road. And so my wife and I went to M&T Bank, and we took out a loan of over $13,000 to replace our entire roof. And that's just an example, right, in a small microcosm of our community, what happens in many of our homes across the island. We have to invest, we have to keep them up to make sure they're warm, cool, safe, and dry. So that is the theme of this project. We're going to kind of look at that scope and examine what that means. And I will be asking every now and then for Dr. Merkel or our architects to talk about the reason why we're phasing in the project. So you'll get a good idea of why that's important as well. So as we look at this first phase, we are looking at replacing the entire roof at the middle school. It's aging, it's over 21 years old. We need to maintain that. And I'm just going to ask our experts here, as far as warranty goes for that middle school roof, are we nearing the end of the warranty? Have we surpassed it?
Surpassed the warranty period of the current roof for the most part, except with the exception of the small section that was replaced during the last capital project.
That's open the office, the main office.
So a small section has been replaced, but this is just a little picture of the roof and its needs. When we do this building condition survey, we just don't have that one little picture. It's a very comprehensive examination of the entire campus. So that is critical to maintaining our middle school. Additionally, I would say that this turf, and if you have been on the island for a while, you may be surprised to know that that turf is over 10 years old. And that's a surprise, right? I remember, I wasn't here, but I remember all of the work that went into the design of that turf. It is a multi-purpose turf. It's that original football field, right, with a synthetic turf covering. And this is nearing the end of its life. It's safe, but it's nearing the end of its life. So it was put in, I think, on 2014?
2014.
Could you just talk a little bit about the importance of replacing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the field was installed in 2014, and the fields have life cycles, and the infill within the field over a certain amount of time just becomes harder and harder and harder. There's a measurement called the GMAX measurement on fields that when a field first goes in, I think that measurement is around 200. What it is a shock absorbent measurement that makes sure that the field is safe to play on. Over the years, even with good practice and with good grooming of a field, it only has so much lifespan. That lifespan just so happens to jive with the warranty. About 12 years is what the life cycle on a field is. So with the phasing of this project, it's looking like that would be installed summer of 26. So we're still a couple more years to get out of that field prior to replacement. So I think you're going to get your best investment with what we did back in 2012, 2014, with a replacement in 26.
Is that still under warranty?
Yeah.
The field would be under, the warranty would have ended at the end of 2014.
Could you also just talk about, we're not talking about cleaning up that entire area, we're just replacing turf.
Correct. When we first put the field in, it was a massive site work project. We undercut the whole entire field by roughly 14 to 16 inches to put in your sub-base layer, your drainage layer, your turf, and then your turf infill. In this project, we're only vacuuming out that infill, rolling out the turf, and then rolling it out. After we, of course, do leveling and minor grading of what's underneath. So it's really it's a turf replacement project. It's not a new athletic stadium project. There's a big savings when you go to replace turf. You're not doing the whole entire project again, which is important.
Thank you. So those are two major developments within the first phase, and the third is Eco Island's roof needs to be replaced. When I got here in 2016, this was a topic of conversation in 2016, that this roof needed to be replaced. How many of you even know what Eco Island is? All right, and so I'm assuming the rest of you don't. It's like a museum that we own. It's on Staley. It's just next door to Thermal Fisher, and the property, Mike, the property touches the town's property at the Golden Age Center and that space, right? And that was donated, I think, to the town and the school by the Army, the Nike base.
Nike base.
Yeah.
Right.
So that property is really great property for the town. It's really great property for the school. And we built basically an ecological museum for our elementary kids. So they take field trips all throughout the year to Eco Island. And if you ever want to tour it, please send me an email. So it's Brian Graham at gicsd.org. It is a jewel that no other school district has in Western New York. So I am grateful to our Board of Education for allowing us to spend the money to replace this roof so that we can maintain it, keep it warm, cool, safe, and dry, of course, throughout its existence for our kids. So that's Eco Island on Staley Road. As we move ahead to phase 2, this is going to encompass all 3 of our elementary schools. We're going to be looking at replacing HVAC systems, boilers, and making sure that we have climate control in every teaching space regarding our classrooms. And climate control does mean air conditioning, and it means that kids will be warm in the winter and cool in the warmer months. It also means that we can use spaces like this for our extended school year special education programming. And that's really important. We have kids that come to our school district that require 12 months of schooling because of their special needs. Right now, those kids are housed in classrooms in the middle school during the summer. But we'll be able to transition, when this project is done, to our elementary classrooms to the extent possible that it's appropriate for the age of the students, and have a nice, comfortable space for them as well, beyond the warm weeks in June, the warm weeks in September. And ultimately, we believe, and our committee believes, that it's essential for teaching and learning. It's essential to have climate-controlled classrooms where kids are comfortable and they can focus on their learning. So what you're seeing in this slide right here is one of our schools, that's Kegabyne, and I am colorblind. So I'm going to ask Sue Marston, is it yellow, the yellow shading? Is that
The
a,
yellow shading are the rooms that will receive air conditioning in this capital. So the yellow shading is the areas that will receive the air conditioning in this capital project. The blue or the purplish blue are the rooms that currently have air conditioning at this time.
sorry to surprise Sue. I thought that was green, so I just needed to know, am I looking at yellow or green? So, I think we got it right. Yeah. But let's just talk a little bit more about the other elements of scope at Kegabyne. Kegabyne is one of our older schools. It's a beautiful school. It's an iconic school, right? If you think about the history of the island and the ferry coming across the river, originally, this is nestled. Oh, how many live in the Kegabyne? Great. So this is nestled in a wonderful original neighborhood, but it's built on some soil that water wicks into the building. So we have done 3 structural engineering reports to understand, should we continue to invest in this building or do something different? Every one of our structural engineering reports have come back and say yes, we need to continue maintaining this building. So in this project, we are going to have 3. It could be 4 or 5 at the most, but for sure 3 classrooms. We will renovate those floors. In that picture, you'll see that big crack, right? And that's in a classroom right now. So I'm going to ask Vaughn just to talk a little bit about the work that was done many years ago at Kegabyne in the library, so that you have an understanding of the type of work that will be happening in these classrooms.
Sure, thank you. So in the library, back in it would have been the 2014 project, we went to basically renovate the area. What we found was that the building is built pretty much on clay subgrade over there. When we started to excavate down in the library was built on a slab on grade that was roughly 1 to 2 inches thick, which is just unheard of. We never find that. Below the 1 to 2 inches worth of concrete was essentially a hardened, sandy product. Below that was clay. So that lack of a moisture barrier and that small, minor amount of concrete is what was allowing that moisture to wick up through clay and then up just below basically the VCT tiling. So what we did in that example was we had to do via a change order to basically excavate down, put lifts worth of sub-base stone, compact it properly, and then put a moisture barrier in a 6-inch concrete slab, which is much more typical in our industry. So that's the proposed. We don't have the exact design yet, but that's the proposed scope of work within the 3 classrooms. Should we have a favorable bid day, we're looking to try to fit 2 more classrooms in as well.
It's really important information. This might be a good time for you to ask questions about Kegabyne, if you have them right now. What's most important is what you see in that slide, the cracks in those classrooms that are starred on the map, right? They're not tiny cracks, right? They're longer cracks that we're either covering with carpet or we're concerned. And it's not just a crack, it's heaving as well. So this type, we know that this worked in the library, this project, and now we're going to start addressing it. Yes, thank you.
Is this structural floor remediation going to result in putting down another 6 inches of concrete?
The question is, will this?
How about 6 inches of concrete
6 inches?
in this renovation?
Yeah, so the proposed scope in this may vary slightly, but we would excavate down, and we would basically get to a point roughly 3 to 4 foot down where we get near to 100% compaction. At that point, we would install sub-basin lifts, compact every 8 inches or so, get up to the point where we put a solid moisture barrier in roughly 6 to 8 inches worth of concrete.
What's going to be on that floor?
I
Why are there
believe
6 inches rather than, say, 4?
What's that?
Why is there 6 inches rather than 4 inches, for instance?
For a structural slab, it's gonna depend on what the structural engineer's design tells us to proceed with. We
That's pretty
typically
quick.
see a minimum of a 5-inch
Quick.
structural slab. Our smaller, sections are for.
And the 3 to 4 foot of excavation is based on what?
We're gonna do further studies on that in the pre-construction phase. In the library, I can tell you that what we found was essentially just unsuitable subgrade. So
That's a lot of soil, a lot of concrete.
in that instance, it was a.
You gotta do lifts to compact it.
Exactly.
Properly.
Exactly.
Otherwise, that concrete sits and cracks.
Yep.
Maybe put some fiberglass in there, and make fiberglass that we send to concrete.
Yep.
Make it stronger.
And we have to do further studies to understand what that depth is going to be worth of excavation in the 3 classrooms.
What's the time frame, and are you only doing it in those select buildings, or it's not the entire school, right?
The
select
floor, yes, it's those select classrooms that are starred on the map.
Yeah, and then what's the time frame for that?
So the 3 that we are definitely hoping to do are these 3 red ones, these 2 and this guy over here. And then if we get a favorable bid, then we will do this one and this one. And Vaughn talked about, the timing and doing more studies. So should this project be approved, what we start doing is we really start getting down into the design. We start engaging our structural engineers and all of those other design folks to really firm up all of those designs, and then we have to submit all of those designs to the state for state approval. So that can take a while, and that's part of what played into why we did multiple phases. So in the first phase, the roofs and that turf carpet are more architectural stuff. And the architectural review is a bit faster than the mechanical review. So both phase 2 and phase 3 require mechanical review by the state, which is a much longer period of time. So by doing the architectural review first, which is the 2 roofs and the carpet, that we're hoping is a shorter review period, so we can get that ground broken and get that work going, which allows us to get the aid flowing as well. So as we start finishing things and submitting to the state, they'll start flowing aid to us. That new aid that starts flowing to us will help us into phase 2, and then once we get aid from phase 2, that's going to help us get into phase 3. So a lot of thought was put into the phasing and everything of just making sure we're going to use our dollars to the best of our ability, and to make sure that we can do this in as reasonable of a time as we can. Design takes a while, and going back to phase 1, the design on the roofs and the carpet is a lot more straightforward than all of the mechanical design that's going to go into the elementary schools and the floors, and then the remaining high school and middle school.
Jen, we may not have answered your question.
Yeah.
I was going to say that being a phase 2.
When I was asking about time frame,
Yep.
like, you're talking about taking classrooms out of
No.
commission.
That'll be in the
No,
summer.
no.
It'll be done in the
So
summer.
this looks like it's over several years, so.
It is.
It is. We would definitely sequence that classroom structural work over the summer of 28.
Yeah.
That would be the plan.
Bid go out for bid then?
Yep.
And,
Yeah. That would, yeah,
Everything goes out to bid.
that would bid around the end of 27.
So once our designs are done and then the state approves, that's when we go out to bid. So everything on here pretty much will get bid unless it's on a state contract, which the state has already bid. Okay. And getting back to your question, so part of the reason that we have to phase it too is there's a lot of work here.
I got
And we
it.
don't, oh, perfect.
She wanted to know when they were gonna work on the classrooms, I said,
Gotcha.
we'll be done this summer.
Yeah. But
So
most
that
of this work,
was-
most of this work will be done over the summers. And you can only do so much work in one summer. So, you know, that's another reason why we had to phase it in, so that we could do this work over multiple summers and have the least disruption to our learning environment as possible.
We have another question.
So we've done the library, and now we're looking at 3 to 5 classrooms. I mean, are we talking the entire school has this problem? I mean, right now it doesn't, but it didn't when you did the library. The other 3 classrooms did.
We've done, in the 3 structural reports, it's a pretty in-depth look at the whole entire building. And there's actually, there's wings of the building, and there's even halves of wings of the building that have an old in-floor radiant heating system built into the concrete
So
slab.
it's thicker.
It's
and-
thicker, those areas, there's no problem. We've really identified the 3 worst case scenarios that actually have floor heating to do in this project. The 2 alternate possibilities are ones that we see that could be an issue. They're an issue now, but there's not as drastic as the 3. So those are the alternate possibilities. The rest of the building, although it's old, is in better condition.
So not a concern that more and more classrooms are gonna start doing this?
Not at this time. In the structural, to further that, the structural reports really concluded with that. They said, is there heaving with the seasons, and is there, you know, there is, but it's not this has been decades. And some of the deviations that we see from the floor base, from the floor base to where the floor is, the structural reports are really telling us that's the extent of this year. So now it's a matter of preservation and maintenance.
Okay.
And the,
Can I ask about the
Yeah.
eco roof?
Sure.
What are you replacing the eco roof with?
Yeah.
Are we thinking of something that is actually eco, or just a bunch of asphalt, which is it?
It's a good question.
rubber, right?
Is this a question for Van Ryn?
we could certainly review all the material options. We're reviewing all the material options for the eco building roof. Obviously, we want something for the district that's long-lasting, that will carry a longer warranty than some of the traditional roofs. I think we budgeted well for the size of roof that we're looking to help the district with. So,
Yeah, I guess the question is more, you know, you can use stuff that is not ecologically friendly, that can last a long time, you have a great guarantee and all that fun stuff. But if your goal is to be an eco roof, are we doing, you know, gas on top? Are we doing solar on top? Are we doing something that's more eco?
It's a great question.
It's a great question. The budget for putting a grass roof system on there to support that structure would shoot that budget through the roof, literally, unfortunately. Solar panels are another issue as well. We've actually worked with the district on solar panel arrays. The issue with solar panel arrays that we've been finding out is putting them on roofs requires additional structure to support that as well. So we're looking at a lot of opportunities at this building. We haven't explored the specific materials that will go on that roof, but we're, again, budgeting for worst case scenarios.
Excellent question. Mrs. Marston?
So I just want to say, so we call it Eco Island because what it is it's a school, it's like a classroom for our kids to learn about the ecosystem, right? So it's not necessarily eco-friendly, it's a place where they can touch bird wings, they can touch insects, they can hike and see the pond and fish in the pond. So it's really like a learning center. So I'm sure we did not look at making a grass roof because it is eco, because that's where, I mean, hundreds of our kids go to learn about our ecosystem hands-on, right?
Yep.
So I'm sure it's something we can explore, but not really making, it's not an eco-friendly building
Thank you,
per
Sue.
se.
But we're talking about Cape.
No, we were at Eco Island.
Equal out.
Yeah.
I agree, that would be this is a good opportunity to do something like that. Feels like a missed opportunity for now.
Thank you for that feedback, though. And remember, the design phase hasn't occurred yet, and it's got to fit within that scope of the budget. We got a question here, and then I'll come over to you.
Not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, when I saw the crack on the tile, it doesn't look like it's heaved. Is there actually heaving that's occurring that's significant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it, okay.
Yep.
And the other thing is, I mean, to repair a crack or some disformity, I mean, 6 inches of concrete, in that kind of excavation, for something that actually has been very functional for decades, it just sounds like it's extremely expensive, not something you would decide to do in your own home, basically, or at any other manufacturing private industry. Why are we considering that kind of an expensive, excessive, almost seemingly fix for something that doesn't seem like it's that big of an issue to justify that cost?
Yeah. And I do, that's a great question, Mike. This does not represent the extent of the issue, this picture right here. The extent of the issue is, I would say, Bob or Phil's here, who's our Director of Buildings and Grounds, that crack probably goes for how many feet? Quite a few feet. That's a fair statement.
And there's different spots in the room too, it's not, so that only shows a small snippet. So that shows just a small snippet. Those 3 classrooms that are the worst that we're targeting, there is significant, and some of them are long. And yes, it is expensive to replace that. But part of our conversations, safety is at the forefront for everything, right? For our kids, for our staff. So, if we leave it like this and somebody trips on that, we open ourselves up to litigation because now we know that there's an issue there and we're not addressing it. So, what is it going to cost us to repair it versus what other, if somebody gets hurt, and can you put a cost on that to keep getting hurt? So, these cracks are pretty significant in these rooms. I'm trying to think, but there's, in most of those 3 red rooms, there's multiple spots in those rooms. We're kind of covering them with carpets and things now to make them as safe as we can in the meantime. But they are pretty significant in those rooms. We did several tours over there with this crew, with the board, maintenance crews to go, and we looked at them several times to really get a deep look, and we talked about them on many occasions, looked back at the studies to make sure that we were doing the best that we could over here.
Yeah, and I'd like you to reinforce the idea that the state has to approve our design.
Yep. The state does, of course, review the design, all components of it, from architectural, structural, civil, and then, of course, mechanical, electrical, their own department of SME. I did want to note that we were looking at a lot more of the building initially with this issue. And to your point, the practicality waiting in some of the rooms where there was just a crack. This is actually it's a challenging picture here, but this is actually showing heaving. It's not actually a crack. It's just a bad picture of it. We really put a lot of effort with the structural reports, our own site observations, and then letting practicality play a big role in how far do we want to go with this. So we had many more classrooms than we were considering, and we did get it down to 3 that we thought that these situations do need to be resolved.
we have another question?
I do, I want to jump back to the turf fields. I see here that you had prepared a report regarding the recycled rubber, but I am concerned about the grass. Recent investigations have indicated that synthetic grass may contain variations of microplastics and hazardous chemicals that pose significant risk to human health. Those are PFA, so that's not the rubber we're talking about. We're talking about the actual grass. In the 2019 Capital Improvement Plan, Young and Wright were hired to provide upgrades made to athletic facilities, including a new multi-use turf field. So that was in 2019. Are you telling me that that field is out of compliance now?
No.
Okay.
It's a different field.
Okay, it's not the same,
Not the
because
same.
under here it says middle school and high school turf fields.
And the reason why it says middle school and high school is because both schools use that new field, which is right behind the middle school. But it's further back. There's a baseball and a softball diamond. There's a football, lacrosse, and soccer space. And it's not this picture. It's adjacent to it. It's parallel to it.
In addition to that, the NFL is actually going back to grass fields because of injuries. And they're finding that there are more injuries because they've been studied on injuries of the kids on these turf fields versus the grass fields. I grew up here. I'm a lifelong resident of Grand Island. I went to kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school. So I'm very aware of what sports that we had then and what we have now. So I just think there needs more to be done when it comes to health concerns. Part of the health concerns also is the kids are supposed to wash their uniforms right away, take their shoes off, take a shower right away. Well, that's telling me that there's other health-related issues with these plastic fields. There's chemicals in them that are not safe for us. It's a concern. I do think that needs to be looked at, okay? And it's an ongoing expense as well. So now the other field's going to have to be replaced next amount of years. So now you're going back and forth in perpetuity to keep replacing these fields. And I also want to jump over to Sidway for a second. I don't see anything on there about new barns for the buses. I know that there's a Prop 1 coming up for the bus, but the mandate for electric buses, they're going to need more than just a place to house it. They're going to need more electrical in case the grid goes out. They're going to need more than that. I don't see anything about that. What's happening with that?
Great. Paula, what's your name?
Paula.
Paula. Thank you, Paula. All great questions. Does anybody want to address the actual synthetic grass? Because I did some research and I did not see any health concerns. Not that there aren't chemicals, but I didn't see any statistically significant connection between the materials and people getting sick.
I'll send you some links.
I would appreciate that. Anybody else want to address that?
We get all of our reports. We can obtain some and provide them to the district. Most of the reports have been studies on the pump rubber infill. I'm sure there are testings for the plastic carpet fibers themselves that we can provide to the district and share with the district and they can share with the public itself.
Do you have a cost difference between us maintaining grass versus maintaining artificial turf?
I'm not prepared to tell you the cost difference. I can tell you when we proposed this multi-purpose baseball, softball, multi-purpose field, we went seasons without being able to have a baseball game at home. We were sending, excuse me for my voice, we were sending the young ladies. Yeah, we couldn't actually. We were going to Kenmore to have our home games on their turf, right? So this gives our kids a chance to practice, to actually play home games, and not have the issue of having natural turf sitting on clay, right? And making the fields unusable. And so that was one of the big reasons why we moved to that multi-purpose field.
We do a flag football with 4 fields, and it's all natural. It's watered and all that. And in the years we've had it, we have not had an issue with maintaining all grass fields.
And is that at the That's Park or?
On Grand Island.
like that's Park or the church?
Oh, no, that's church.
At church, good. Yeah, and that impact program is great. Good.
Yeah, what I'm understanding from the discussion so far is that a lot of these things have not been designed. I'll use is 3 or 4 foot of excavation and 6 inches of concrete, which in my opinion is a lot. You could run a highway garage with that kind of floor. So how do we do this cost estimating? Are we making these very conservative assumptions when we come up with this $70 million deal? We have no design. We're going to do design, but we already have a cost. So how does that work?
Thank you. What's your name?
Jim.
Jim, thank you, Jim. Just going to ask our team how the estimates are developed.
It's a great question. When we put together projects at the pre-vote point, we are in what we call the conceptual phase. So at that point in time, we are trying to understand what a district wants. Are we looking at fields? Are we looking at roofs? Are we looking at classroom rental? What are the scopes? We do K through 12 construction management only. So we have an in-house estimating group that is constantly estimating, constantly reviewing bids that occur statewide for these scopes of work. So that's how we're able to put together our conceptual estimates of what these scopes might look like without a design.
It is conceptual.
It's conceptual.
Yeah, so you can see how alarming that might be to those of us who are going to pay for something. That it sounds like we're very conservative. We use unit prices that are out there in the industry, but then it appears as though these concepts are making pretty conservative assumptions. Like for instance, again, this floor drives me crazy.
The floor. Let me come back to that. The example that I provided was within the library, and when we got into tearing it apart, we found basically junk soil. That scenario, we're likely not going to plan for that worst case scenario.
So that's the point, though. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're going to do, how do you know how much it costs? You said it again. We don't know. I've heard that 3 times already. But now we know the cost, but we don't know what we're doing.
I want to explain the process. We're talking about a $69.2 million project. We can't design that amount of work prior to a vote. That would be impractical because that would be an expense.
So what happens if you spend less money? What happens? What you're explaining to me is you haven't designed it, you don't have the time. I mean, these are all bad things.
It's not that you don't have the time. The district would not want to encumber the expense of a whole entire design across $70 million worth of work. You wouldn't want to encumber that expense without the assurance that the project was moving forward. So we have to put together conceptual estimates to get past the point of the vote, and then do about a year and a half's worth of design and further estimates. We do further estimates. We do a 30% check estimate, 60 and 90. At this point in time, we've estimated the conceptual designs that we make.
And Jim, it's Jim, right?
Jim, yes.
Yeah, if we don't spend $69.2 million, we don't spend it. It doesn't hurt the taxpayer, right? The savings come back to the district. In the multi-purpose field that we built in 2018, 2019, that was estimated at $24 million. It came in at 18 million. And so that was money that we didn't have to band or bond. It was money
But who's got it? The school district has the money?
Nobody. It just wasn't, we didn't have to access that money through through the banks. So
We still had to pay the tax that was estimated based on the cost.
no, that's not true.
Oh, isn't it? Okay.
So Jen, I know you have a question.
Yeah, just getting back to the safety issue of the fields. So the turf fields, the artificial turf fields are associated with a higher non-contact injury rate, primarily ACL and Achilles injuries. and the rates vary based on the sport, from what I was reading. But basically they're saying that the infill causes rotational torque that can increase the risk of sprains and tears. And these are middle school kids who still have their growth plates developing, and even some of the high school kids. So the types of injuries they could get from these fields could have lifelong impact for them. I'm just curious, are we exploring going back to the grass, or is this just we're going to replace because that's what we have right now, and we'll keep the injury rate up?
Thank you, Jen. And I would contest that we are not keeping the injury rate up, so I would just say that. And yes, we have invested in these fields. We are getting maximum use out of these fields. That's really important. Our physical education classes can go out and use this, and it's safe. Our athletics can come out. And by the way, the entire community comes here, right? We just said no to a community project, right? As a community, we said no. Where do they go? They're here. And they can use our fields, right?
And they do.
And they do.
How about the
So,
About-
and the pool. Everything is open to our community.
And the
We
basketball.
we are the community center.
And the basketball courts are open.
Yeah, if they're available, they're open. And we have a tiered system, right? Our kids first, then our community education program, then the town. And then other non-town entities also get to use it. So we are really fortunate, and I would love, if you have not had a tour, just send me that email. Jude and I would love to take you for a tour and show you what your dollars have invested in for our community. It's excellent. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Thank you for being here.
thank you for having me. This is my first meeting, so I'm sorry if I'm asking something you've already gone over. So about the budget. I understand that you're not gonna have really firm commitments because you haven't paid for that yet. I don't understand how you get these dollars though. And what I don't understand is, let's take the cracks at Campine. What are you going to do until you can actually fix them? Obviously, you're talking a year and a half to 2 years before you could probably even touch the cracks. That's if you get your whole plan in place. How are you going to keep the kids safe? How are you going to keep the rooms dry? What is the plan?
Yeah, it's
Which
awesome.
I don't understand, so can you just break it down for some simpleton like me?
What's your name?
Linda.
Linda, thank you for being here. Phil, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. We carpet, right? We're carpeting over these heaving and cracks. But Phil, what else are we doing?
That was pretty much,
Yeah.
But that's not going
Phil-
to last 2 years.
Well, it has to, right? Because we need this passed.
So
And we
would
need
you
to get
close
this
up the
work done.
classroom and just put the kids somewhere else?
So the question Linda's asking is, would we close the classroom? We would if we had to, but we haven't had to yet. Phil, is there anything you wanted to add?
I can.
Yeah, just, is there anything you want to add?
we've carpeted over most of them, that seems
Yeah.
to kind of level out the
Level
floor.
out. But it's not a long-term fix.
No, they're just
Is
runners
there
from.
water coming in from the floor? for
No,
this?
they're dry. It's really just kind of a heaved crack that could be a tripping hazard. We've covered over it to mitigate that as much as we can.
So if they don't heave anymore, then you're okay.
Yeah, but it's not wise, right? We need
Well,
to
yeah,
make sure.
of course.
Yeah, because then they're just going to continue to heave,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I want that.
Oh, come on.
I want
Gotta
that.
use it.
And you also
No, I
have to
don't-
sing
I
the
don't
national
wanna
anthem.
Speak loud.
Okay, forgive me if I don't understand this. You got phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3.
Which we haven't,
Is there a
we've gotten,
phase-
we haven't gotten past phase 1 yet.
Okay, right. But this isn't like in order of what you're gonna do. You're gonna do what's the worst thing.
We're going to do phase 1 first, and that's what we just showed you. And
Okay.
now I'm talking about phase 2 with, we started at Sidway, but then we had a lot of questions.
Okay, so you're gonna do phase 1, so those
Hmm.
cracks are not gonna be taken care of for what? 2
Until
years?
phase 2.
Which is gonna be 2,
At
3
least,
years?
yeah.
Yeah, so we will, give us a shot to go through the phases, and then we'll have our experts talk about the timeline again, so that it's very
Okay.
clear, okay?
Is there any more phases after 3?
There, yeah,
I'm
the
just
question, Linda's
curious.
question is, Linda, right?
Yeah.
Her question is, are there any more phases? Not in this project. But listen, this is super important, right? We will do another capital project in 5, 6, 7 years from now. That's what we should do, and every school district should do that. And the state requires us to assess and evaluate our buildings every 5 years. And it's not just like a checklist, it's a comprehensive report that we have to do by law. So when you do that and you see issues, you have to fix them, right? Just like you would at your house. And that's super, super important. So after this project's done, guarantee you, we will have that facility committee meeting working on the next project. Because we have to have a long-term plan. You just have to, just like you do at home. Let me go on to a couple sites. We won't forget you.
Well, I just had a question on the turf.
Okay.
Real quick.
Sure.
You said that was under warranty. Was that a limited warranty? I mean, was it bad last year? Why couldn't we get that covered under the warranty, or is it limited number of years or something like that? Certain percentage.
The warranty covers things like tears within the field, tears on the ceilings. Obviously, all of your 5-yard increments are sewn together. The warranty does not cover GMAX going down incrementally at the end of its useful life, because there's nothing that can be done from a warranty standpoint. The answer at that point in time, when that ratio starts going too low, the option is to replace it. There's not really a remedy to the 120,000 square foot field that can be done by a serviceman coming out. At that point in time, it's replacement. Now, to date, I mean, we have a vendor that performed the athletic complex, the one that's going to be in this project. And then we had a separate vendor do the multi-purpose turf just behind the middle school. Both vendors are excellent. Both of those vendors have been out several times throughout the years to repair tears and things like that along the way. The logo is a good example. That logo is stitched in. So, I mean, lacrosse beats that up. So, both vendors have done an excellent job of maintaining the fields throughout the warranty period.
I got a question. All right, so we're going to keep going.
Can I ask a question?
Which phase are we talking about?
I'm still talking about the football field,
All right, you
the
got it.
turf field. When we put the fields in 11 years ago, started, did we know, and can we assume, moving forward, every 10 years, that field's going to have to be taken out, we're going to have to put a new carpet on?
Yes.
And the baseball field's going to have to be done 10 years
The
from
answer
now.
is yes.
So every 10 years, we're going to have to do this.
Yes, give or take 10
And we
or
knew
12
that
years.
when we put it in
Yes.
12 years ago?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Good question. All right. Now, there aren't a lot of slides, so we can get through a few, and then still we're here. We'll be here until all your questions are answered. You may not like all the answers, but we'll be here to give you the answers. So we talked about Kegbine, and now this is the Sidway floor plan. When we started the conversations, I would say, Sue, maybe 3 years ago, at first we were only thinking about climate control at Sidway, but we really had some deep conversations about equity and access to comfortable climate-controlled classrooms. And so what you're going to see in this phase is that Kegbine, Sidway, and Huth are getting the same treatment. Every classroom will have that HVAC replacement, the climate control, cool in the hot weeks, warm in the freezing cold. So this is what our Sidway, it's the same color scheme that Sue taught me what those colors were. And of course, some other minor replacements. You can see the steps leading to the back of the property inside to Sidway. You know, it needs repair, right? Those are just some smaller projects. Am I missing anything at Sidway? Oh, there's a new sidewalk that'll connect the school to the playground, and we will make sure it doesn't bother the brick and all the donated bricks that originally were donated by the community and donated by parents when that playground was built. Am I missing any scope at Sidway? Any questions? It's basically the same as Kegbine, except we're not doing the floor.
Just the HVAC at Sidway.
Yeah, HVAC, yep, central air when needed, stairs and a walkway. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would also say, and I've learned over the last few years, that when we say air conditioning project, we should really say HVAC project. There's a new electrical service that's required to introduce cooling to the building. And what is the priority? The priority is heat. So we always take a look at your heating plan to make sure, is it up to snuff or isn't? So at 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 3, I'd have to take a quick look. We're replacing the boilers as well. If they're ready for replacement, they're getting replaced because we're doing an air conditioning project. The last thing that we want is to cool these buildings in your boiler. It goes down the next year. So we're looking at electrical, we're looking at heating, and air conditioning.
And this is all central, not individual.
Correct, central.
Correct.
Central there, yeah. Excellent questions. We really do appreciate these questions, so I thank you for that. And of course, here's our youth campus, also getting the HVAC and heating and air conditioning upgrades. And additionally, the stage curtains at Youth are well beyond their lifespan. I don't even think the fire inspector can think this is a passing rate yet. Am I wrong about that?
Phil volunteered to take it.
Oh, Phil. Yeah, right, Phil. Oh, you're comfortable.
Well, the answer to that one. The curtains there were not able to be certified for a full 5 years for the flame retardant that's put on them. It was only able to be done for 3.
And that starts now for 3 years?
No, we're actually,
Winding it down?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think this is year 2 of it, so
Yeah, makes
they
sense.
need to be done.
Yeah. Very good. Am I missing any other scope for youth? So this would be the phase 2, the entire phase 2 portion of this capital project. As we move on to phase 3, we're doing more work here in the middle school. If you graduated from Grand Island High School, some of those locker rooms are the original locker rooms, and they're not gross, but they're not great. Okay? So if anybody on the way out wanted to take a peek, I could show you what they look like. Middle school and high school both will have renovated locker rooms for changing for phys ed and for athletics. Okay? We do in the middle school have some cracking of floors, so those will be part of that project. And if you graduated from Grand Island High School or middle school, the lockers are the original lockers, and they don't open. Okay? Our custodians, who we love dearly, are not happy because they are constantly trying to fix these lockers. They're the original lockers. Some of our buildings, I think, Sue might know, opened in the 60s, 1960s, right? So it's time to replace them. And if you walk around and you really look at them, they're scratched up, they're dented, they're not good. So that'll be part of that project.
What locker number was that?
Yes, when we do a tour, Sue always shows me where her locker was, because it was the same for 4 years, right? Never changed
I
it.
couldn't remember that.
So our high school, if we were just down the hallway here in our high school cafeteria, we did put air conditioning in the last project, but we didn't do it at the middle school for their cafeteria. So that cafeteria will also get air conditioning. It was, it was really important to do it at the high school for Regents exams in the summer and summer school Regents exams, right? So we took care of that, but for equity purposes, we need to do that for the middle school as well. Additionally, and I credit Sue Marston for this, when we took a tour, she noticed in the ramp area of the middle school, so when you're in the back of the property near the kitchen, but when you're going to the middle school down the ramp, you'll see that the tile is starting to bubble. It's wicking behind. There's water wicking, so that's cracking and bubbled. So that tile area will be replaced. And I think this is probably one of the more important things. We say this is a warm, cool, safe, and dry project. At 3 of our elementary schools, we have a 1-button lockdown system. All right, and this is super important in today's day and age. So here's what that means. If there was somebody brandishing a weapon on the outside of the property, there's 1 button in the main office that a clerk or a principal or a teacher can just touch, and it shuts down the school. it not only shuts down the school, but it does a PA announcement so that everybody knows it's a lockdown. It also contacts law enforcement for us. It also has strobe lights on the outside of the school. So let's say Mike retires and he wants to be working at our Buildings and Grounds Department and he's cutting the grass outside of Youth. When he sees those strobe lights, he knows that they're in lockdown and he shouldn't be entering the school. Believe it or not, that simple thing happens all the time when we do a lockdown drill. Somebody is driving to school, maybe they start midday, they park in the parking lot, we're in lockdown, and they just walk right into the school, right?
How do they get in the school if it's locked down?
Yeah, because they can just use this to get in. They have a key. So these systems will help us stay more secure, right? So right now, they have this or they have a manual key. And I'm not saying at our elementary schools, I'm saying this campus, because this campus doesn't have the one-button lockdown. So somebody can use a regular key and just get in. But if there's a strobe light, it's telling you to stay away. Does that make sense?
So you want to implement?
But if somebody steals one of those, they can get in.
Yeah, I mean, if you stole this, you could get in, but we would deactivate it if it was stolen.
Okay.
Yeah. Linda?
So you want to put strobe into all of
We
them?
want to do this campus does not have what our 3 elementary schools have.
So that's the upgrade you're talking about?
That's the
strobe.
upgrade for middle school and high school, one-button lockdown system on this campus.
Oh,
Okay? Elementaries have it, we don't.
Does the one button lock down both middle school and high school at once? Or
Yes.
are they like 2 separate buttons for each school?
They would have their own buttons, for sure,
Right.
absolutely. But
They would
once
move
it's,
on.
when one person activates it, it's for the entire campus. Excellent question. And just so you know, I'm going to give you some more information. The Board of Education about 4 years ago allowed us to purchase Zero Eyes technology. Does anybody know what that is? Every one of our cameras has a software system connected to them, and its only job for the software is to look for a brandished gun. Not a knife, a brandished gun. So our exterior cameras and our interior cameras are always looking for a brandished gun. When a brandished gun is identified, a nuclear, and I'm not exaggerating, a nuclear alarm sounds in the home office, the Operation Command Center in Philadelphia. Their team, when that alarm sounds, a picture jumps right onto their computer of where that person is on our campus, right? It draws, I think, a red box, because I can't tell colors, around the weapon. I immediately get text messages. I get a phone call from the Operation Command Center and text messages from them showing me a bird walk view of where that person is on our campus. It's about 5 seconds for that alert to get to my phone, and then we can lock down a campus so much faster. Zero Eyes calls law enforcement on our behalf, and then they send them, and by the way, all of our school resource officers have this technology on their phones. They are already headed to that target, right? We know, if you've seen Uvalde, if you've seen other terrible mass shootings, having this technology, 85% of people who do these horrific acts, particularly, remember in Buffalo, at Tops in 2022, the person brandished a gun in the parking lot. Same as Uvalde, same as Sandy Hook. I'm not saying it's always that, but about 85%, it's outside first. So that technology, every school has, right? It's just amazing technology. But now we want to add the one-button lockdown system on this campus to keep our kids safe. Does that make sense? All right. So what else? Anytime that we're using technology, we have to upgrade our switches, our infrastructure, and our Wi-Fi components. You can see just above you right there, that's a Wi-Fi antenna, right? And I think that's the only one in this room, but we have to have them all throughout. But we need to update and keep those as up to date as possible. Am I missing anything? All right. And then some of it's redundant for the high school, but you know, we talked about the locker rooms, we talked about the lockers, the high school cafeteria and library window replacements. I'm just gonna ask you guys for a little help on that. I think Hillary, our principal, wants windows that people can't see in. Is that a fair statement?
Correct, and the windows units themselves are also seeing a lot of wear and tear. They're falling apart, so replacing those while we're at it is also included in the budget.
Thank you. If you ever took a walk over to our library, there is a area near the elevator on your way to the library, of course, under the first floor, that collects water that has a sulfur smell, and that's been going on for many years. If anybody graduated from here, was that a thing back then, or not really? No, so it's a newer issue, so we want to do all that we can to replace that sump pump and make sure that that sulfur smell is not seeping into the school. The auditorium's had a lot of work. If you've come to a concert, the last capital project, we corrected acoustical problems in the auditorium to the point now where we host ECMEA, Erie County Music Education Association events here, because we've corrected the acoustics in our auditorium. But as an additional improvement, we want to replace our projector and our screens so that we have the digital technology that is engaging for our kids. So I think I covered those pieces of the scope, and that is phase 3. So moving on, I'm actually going to turn this over because they're better at understanding this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 schedule. Who would like to talk about that?
So we've tried to, as Bob mentioned earlier, have projects moving in a timely fashion and start so the district can get aid reimbursement at a faster rate. The roof and the turf projects require less of time, effort to put that into the state for permit review. So our documents go in a lot faster, so construction can start happening a lot faster. While that is going on, our engineering team will start the phase 2 process essentially at the same time, but it takes longer because we have to engineer all of the HVAC components that will be replaced as part of the phase 2 project, and we want to make sure that that is done correctly. And that also includes all the additional scope items that Brian had mentioned as well for phase 2. So, in a perfect world, phase 1 construction starts in summer of '27. Phase 2 construction would happen in around '28, summer of '28, right? Obviously, we have to work with the district on scheduling and availability for the different areas of renovations to make sure that the students' learning environment is priority number 1, and then the contractors find the filler in between, okay? And then phase 3 would, the design work would start occurring right after we're done designing phase 2, and then construction would start in around '29. And that's probably a solid 2 summers worth of construction, just given the magnitude of the renovations that are being proposed.
Thank you, Matt. So let's look at the financial aspect of the project, okay? And keep in mind that these numbers may improve, not go down. It may improve. So when we put the slide deck together, we were looking at 71.5% back in building aid from the state. If we vote this project down, somebody else gets that money, right? Just very, very simple. So the more that we invest in our buildings, the better off our kids are for proper fundamental teaching and learning. It is possible that that number might go as high as 72%, not any higher. About 1 more percentage point, perhaps, right? Which would be great, right? That's a bonus on money back from the state. 28.5 right now, that would go down perhaps by a percentage point, is what we are responsible for over the course of time since the last project, we have been able to save $2.5 million in a capital reserve that's going to offset this cost to the extent possible. So I thank the board, I thank Dr. Merkel for working hard at putting money in a capital reserve that we can use toward this project, right? So that's going to help us too. Just on the financials, did I miss anything?
We also have about $4 million in our debt service reserve that we are going to use to pay off existing debt to open up room in our budget for the new debt that's going to come. So we're going to be using a total of about $6.5 million of our reserves to fund this project to minimize the tax impact on the residents. Based on our current calculations, and as Dr. Graham mentioned, these things, we're constantly updating them. We estimate that to be about a 34 cents per $1,000 of assessed value per impact on the household. What does that equate to? For a $200,000 house, that would be about an additional $68 for that year. If you're a $400,000 house, that'd be about $136 additional that this project would cost. Overall, the $69.2 million. It's important to understand that that's the number that we're voting on. That's a do not exceed number. So should that be passed by the residents, we would not be able to go over that number. So part of, like when we look at the Kegel-Line floors, for example, there's contingencies that we build in. So there's things that we absolutely have to get done to get them in a good condition. And then there's other things that we would really like to get to keep our buildings maintained. We haven't done a project since 2018, 7 years. Most of the time you're trying to do them on a 5-year basis. The state, they have what's called a maximum cost allowance, and so that resets every 5 years. So that kind of limits how much aid you can get, but if you're not doing that every 5 years, then you're limiting on how much aid you can get from the state. As Dr. Graham just brought up, so there's 2 buckets to the maximum cost allowance, and each building has their own maximum cost allowance. So on the left-hand side, in the blue, you'll see that's the construction bucket, and that's the amount of money that you can use for your construction. On the right is the incidentals and site work budget, and that is for planning, architecture fees, any kind of research we have to do, things like that. So, I know we talk about how do we know it's going to be $69.2 million? We don't quite know where we're going to be. But in our planning, we've been very thoughtful about when we're going to do the vote and when these bids are going to go out. Certain times of year, it's a big process, as Matt said. So phase 1, the design, can we go back to that the schedule? So that design phase is really short in phase 1, which allows us to get to work. And you'll see the design phase in phase 2 is a really long design phase. So you can see we're going to start designing phase 1 and 2 at the very same time. But the design of phase 2 is going to take a lot longer. And why can't we get at the Kegel-Line floors right now? Well, we have to get a permit from the state to do any work on our property. So as the residents have to get a permit from the town, we have to get a permit from the state to do any kind of work on our facilities. And that permit doesn't happen until there's designs and we've got to submit everything. So the timeline is just challenging. All of the design work, that research, so should it be approved, we're going to start designing right away. And we're going to start looking, doing conceptual designs and doing any further testing that we need to do to find out what we're really looking at. And then we'll really be able to start fine-tuning things. But some of it, we just have to plan for contingencies. And we are hopeful with the ending of the stadium construction that those construction companies are going to be looking for work and that we'll be able to get good bids. And, you know, I believe in the 2018 project, they were able to do the whole scope, including contingencies, and save money. So at the end of the day, whatever of that $69.2 million isn't spent would go back, it's the residents' money, you know, so it would be, go back and
Less is borrowed.
correct, less is borrowed, which is less that we have to pay back. So a couple things there, but if we go back down, so to the financial portion, so there's a lot that plays in here, right? So the design and the testing and stuff, that we're talking millions of dollars. We wouldn't want to put out millions of dollars for all of that design and everything before the public says, yes, you can do this, because the public has to vote on it and they have to approve these expenditures. So we would hate to spend all of that money before we get the permission to go and do it. So, you know, those are kind of some of the things that we're up against. You never know how long the state's going to take to review things either. Right now, the review times are a little bit shorter, but sometimes they have more staff than other times, and we have to deal with that. So, you know, we could be looking at very long review times. Sometimes you got to go back and forth on that. So these things do take quite a bit of time. The state does give us about $100,000 a year to do a capital outlay. So those are, we typically try to do things that are immediate needs that need to get done now. But $100,000 doesn't go far these days. So, you know, as we do that year after year, and as we look at the building condition survey, we're really saying, all right, what do we need to do now? And making sure that we get that done. But that would not get us anywhere close to a Kagabine floor. So the only other option of going through the typical state permitting process is to do an emergency project. And the threshold for that is pretty much an act of God, you know, a weather-related incident where it rips your roof right off and you got to do it now. That would be an emergency project, and a lot of the times that's very reserved. They do that very rarely. So we're kind of limited by the options that the state gives us, and we have to follow their rules. So you know that has an impact on our timeline as well.
You know, Bob just talked about an emergency. We actually had an emergency at Sidway and at Kegabine. There was a big windstorm maybe 5 years ago, and I was home on West River Road, and people were sending me videos of the Sidway roof flapping in the heavy windstorm. Mike, you probably remember that, right? So those are cases where we can try to get emergency relief and also extended work at Kegabine. I think we did during a capital project. So here we go.
This is a three-part question. If bids come in over budget, what parts of the plan would be prioritized or delayed? Who will provide project oversight to ensure accountability and adherence to the budget and quality standards? And will progress updates be regularly shared with the public, and if so, how?
I think some of this is yours because you're asking about like a clerk of the works, right? Somebody who is going to manage. Campus construction does it, but also Phil does it for us. So Phil tries to keep Vaughn and campus construction on case. They will meet regularly. It will always be Vaughn. It might be somebody from campus that's assigned to us, but they work in concert to make sure that the work is getting done and the scope is getting done properly. And really, Phil's job is really like our watchdog. He's the one that really is walking constantly, assessing and communicating with campus construction, and of course, us. Libby and Matt schedule regular meetings with us. They're called owner and manager meetings. No, what's it called? OCA?
Owner, architect, construction manager.
Oh, okay, we gotta add architect. Sorry. But we meet regularly, and when we're in the thick of the project, it's once a month now. We're doing that now. We've been doing that for years, actually. So that part helps everybody stay on track, okay? and the Board of Education. So for those community updates, that'll happen here, right in this room with the board. And remember, Mark Wharton records and posts all of those videos. And I'm actually very proud of our community and Mark, because we get, Mark, maybe 1,000 views. Mark, is that a fair estimate? So when we post a Board of Education meeting, 1,000 people are watching it. So please tune in for that. I don't know if I answered every question. What else did I miss?
There was one about over budget.
Okay, yeah, over budget.
So, obviously, it's bids, and we're talking years out, right? So, we don't know what the market's gonna be 2 or 3 years from now.
I think the question was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So
What if the bid's coming over?
the bids that come in over, right?
And you're
We
changing
all
the scope
review
of
that, and then we're changing the scope, and that's done by the board and this team working together. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, thank you.
And I also have a question back to the barns for the buses.
Yeah, all right, so
I just wanted to know who changed
the question.
Paula.
Thank you, Paula. So I think Paula is really asking, what is the district going to do about electric buses?
Well, that's part of it.
Right.
Because with that is barns.
With that,
Which is a capital
it's the
project.
infrastructure, right, all of that. All right, can I be blunt and honest with you?
Please.
All right, I'm gonna be blunt.
Transparency here.
I'm gonna be blunt. I would estimate, hypothesize, that this community might not approve us to purchase a $450,000 school bus. Thank you very much. Mic drop.
That's what, 600 go to school.
No,
Yeah,
that's
so the-
per bus.
When I said 450, that's one electric school bus.
Yeah.
Right now, when we purchase a full diesel or gas bus, you're talking 160, 170, 180. I'm here saying, I don't think this community would say yes if we said we're gonna buy 50, right? Because we have 55, Bob, how many buses in our fleet? 70. Different sizes, but they're, this, and forgive me, because I said I was gonna be blunt, this is baloney. The state is out of their mind. There are 45,000 school buses in New York State. So when the state says, oh, we have $500 million and you should get a grant and you should, there's 700 school districts. Take 500 million divided by 700, sounds like a lot of money, it's not. So they're like, oh, buy a bus, okay? And it's possible, Paula, it's possible the board, along with this team, might buy one bus with one charger, right? Because the state says we have to by 2027, but the state is starting to pedal back. We are putting so much pressure. I'm the president of the Erie Niagara Schools Superintendent Association. We think this is a horrible idea. We don't think getting an electric bus is a bad idea, but we think if they're going to do it, then fund it. But this community is saying, we don't even want the state to fund that. That's ridiculous, right? So there's a lot of layers. The weight of the bus, if it catches fire, the distance it can go without being recharged. Like there's so many layers.
Fire
The
department
temperature.
trying to put that fire out.
Putting the fire out is a total nightmare. So interestingly, I think the idea was rooted in something good, but they did not investigate this to its nth degree. And just like Mike said, even the fire aspect of it is just super dangerous. The weight for the road.
They can't put them up, right?
A car takes about 30,000 gallons to put an electric battery car out. So a bus battery, I can just imagine, I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's all,
Essentially, it's.
and I'm not trying to grandstand here, right? I'm just saying that we did a study. We hired Wendell, which is an architectural firm, to do that study. We have the numbers for the infrastructure, the capital improvement. It's ridiculous. But we didn't spend like $50,000 on the study, but we did get some payback on it.
But what if the mandate moves forward?
Yeah, it's
Then
not-
what? Is it
Well,
like
right
an
now, it's
emergency
right now it's
situation?
federally stopped.
Yeah,
At the federal level, it's stopped.
yeah,
So
but
there's a
here,
conflict between the state and the federal government right now.
But you're right, but what I'm saying to you is that every entity in the state is telling them this is a bad idea. So I think what's happened is they said, okay, we're gonna extend it out 2 more years, right? And they're just pushing, they're kicking the can down the road because it's a ridiculous mandate. Yeah. So that's just my answer to that. That's why you're not seeing that in this project, but it's a great question.
That 2035 rule for electric buses,
Yeah.
where is that at?
Yeah, so that's basically what I'm saying.
Down the road?
It's, you being kicked down the road, they added 2 more years. Actually, when they came out with that, they immediately added 2 more years past 2035, but they were saying that by 2027, we had to buy at least 1 bus. We might be able to do that with a grant that would cost the taxpayers the same as a $160,000 bus. We might be able to do it with a grant. We can't do 70 buses, right? It's just ridiculous. So that's why it's not in this project, but I love the question, yes?
How is all this information going to get out to the town? And I'm
This
curious-
project?
This project.
Yeah, can I answer that?
Yeah.
So if you go to our website, we have, Ally is here and she builds our website for us. So when you go to the website right now, you'll see me narrating these slides in a video, and I will push that out to our school community tomorrow. So there's me, about 20 minutes, just narrating each slide. That'll go out to all of our school community tomorrow, but it's on our website right now. This video will also go on our website, and all of this documentation, financial, the resolution is all, and it's right, if you go to the district website, there's a tab that says capital project, you just click it, and all that information is there.
And just curious about the date of the vote.
Yeah,
Strange date. We don't vote in December.
actually, we did. We did the last capital project, it was a vote in December. Yeah, thank you, though. We did that the last time.
Right, and it also coincides with the concert.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
So people are here, or they can vote while they're here.
Or
Please
people
vote.
can't get in.
We want everybody to
There's no
vote.
park.
There's no place to park.
Well, that's not true. We block out voting, and we ask our teachers not to park. And it's 8 to 8, that December 10th. So please come. Please come.
Schools
Vote
closed
no,
that day?
vote yes,
Schools
but please
closed that
come.
day?
No, schools are not closed.
So school's open, but people are coming in and voting.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And that happens, right?
How's that
Yeah.
how's the 1-button lockdown thing gonna deal with that?
I
that day?
appreciate
Especially it's in the middle
irony.
of deer hunting season, and there's gonna be somebody in a parking lot
Right.
with a gun in their car.
I do appreciate that question.
Realize that.
Let me just go here. Yep.
So I'm just curious, do we even know what a new school costs these days?
Yes, well, a new school, Tonawanda City School District built a brand new elementary school. It's beautiful. Approximately, do you have a general sense of what a new school costs?
Yeah, 53 million.
53 million.
What I would say too is that we bid that project pre-COVID, and it was 2019. The cost of that 53 million today is.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But I was just curious, at what point do we stop fixing
Yeah,
those schools?
we actually, that was part of the 3-year conversation. The 3 structural engineering reports came back and said, yeah, you don't need to build a new school.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But at some point, maybe not in the near future, these schools which are older, you probably want to save the $69.2 million renovations and fix-ups and put it towards something new. I mean, is that...
It's really, I love the concept of what you're saying, but we have so many things that we have to fix, right? Boilers, roofs, and things. We cannot kick that can down the road,
Okay.
right? It just doesn't, like, the cost of not doing the work is just going to whack us in the future. So inflation and costs and everything. So, yes.
Okay, this is probably a moot point because Grand Island is growing. But what is the percentage of children that, if you could combine, like, 2 of the elementary schools?
You mean build a new school and then
No,
close the
just-
school?
yeah,
There's no
just-
room.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't
No, it's
know
a
what the
great
percentage
question.
is of the children,
It
but
really-
I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
because you have Kegabine, Huth, and
Yeah.
Sidway.
Each of those 3 elementary schools have over 400 children,
Okay.
right? So if you, and if you want a tour, I will give you a tour. And you'll see that every classroom is used, right? Now, could we, if we get an influx, could we move some academic intervention teachers into a different classroom and open up a classroom? Maybe 1 classroom, right? So, yeah, so And our population has been level at 2,800, give or take, every year. I think, Sue, I do that every year with the budget. So it really hasn't gone down significantly. When I got here, there were 980 kids in our high school, so we are down 100 kids in our high school, right? But what I'm seeing coming in, we're starting to see us to go back up over 200 kids, 210, 220 in kindergarten. So when you multiply that out by 13, right, it's pretty much level at 2,800 right now. But that doesn't mean we might not get a big influx of and by the way, families are smaller, right? I have 4 children, right? A lot of families that come to us, 1 or 2, you know, so you still have households with families, right? New developments, but not a ton of children, right? So that's just a thought. Let me go over here. He hasn't asked a question.
Just a couple of questions. What was the highest number of students in the school system?
The highest? I can only tell you that I want to say I looked back and it was as high as 3,100, but not, I haven't gone all the way back to the beginning of the 60s, right? But we were at 3,100, but we've been flat in my 10 years at 2,800. Yeah.
And then another couple of questions. On the part of the bond that we're going to pay for, what is the interest rate on it and how long is it for?
Okay, great question. Interest rates on bonds or banks?
So we won't know that until we actually borrow the money. So during the first part of the project, we will take a band, which is a bond anticipation note, saying, okay, we're going to get a bond eventually. We need some money to get us there. So why do we do that instead of just taking the bond? If we borrow all 69 million or whatever portion that we need, it's not going to come from the tax dollars, we would start paying interest on that right away. At the beginning part of the project, we need money for design and any testing and things like that. So we take out a small band on anticipation note to give us money to start up with. And just enough for us to get started without, paying more interest than we have to. As we get into the project, we will take bigger bonds and we will pay back that band, but we won't know what the interest rates are until we actually bid that out. We will bid those interests, we'll bid the bonds out as well as the construction.
How long do you think it will take to pay the bond back?
So we will do 15-year bonds. So, and the reason why we do that is because building aid comes in over 15 years. So when you...
So if it's 15 years, the project we did in 18, we're still paying on now.
Correct.
The project we're going to do again in another 5 to 7 years, we're going to be paying on top of that again.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, while we are paying on that project, we are also still getting a significant amount of building aid on that as well. I want to say our building aid this year was around $4 million. So as we're paying that, we're also paying building aid. And most of the time, what you're trying to do is you're trying to time your capital projects. So as debt falls off, you do a new capital project to fill that, to try to keep the taxes as level as possible. So you're not, we need a ton of money. No, we don't. You know what I mean? So we're really trying to target that and keep it as level as possible.
And if the debt falls off, right, that's actually a problem for school districts. So you almost want to have a level of debt that you can anticipate and budget for so that we're not whacking the taxpayers with 5% increases and so forth.
Back to enrollment for a minute.
Yes, thank you.
1999, 2000, we had almost 3,200 enrolled.
I said 3,100, but yeah, good.
32, and then 2023 to 2024, we had 2,800. That's a difference of 400.
It is.
So our enrollment has actually been going down.
It's
even
been
though
level
our
for about 10
Island-
year,s at 28, 2750, 2,800. No, just look at the last.
2015.
No, I know, but look.
I'm looking at the numbers
Yeah,
right
right. All I'm saying is it's about 2,800 over the last 6 or 7 years. Is that a fair statement?
I'm just saying it's been going down.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it, it's just been going down, even though the population on the island is growing.
Isn't that interesting? Because families are smaller.
they are smaller,
Yeah.
but we're
Is that
still.
all?
I got 6 grandkids.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
I have
all
four,
of
I have
us
four. So let me just add to what you're saying. It's my responsibility to make recommendations to the board about class sizes, right? And this board will tell you, for the last 10 years, they see it. They see all the class sizes for all of the students, and we have deep conversations. Can we sustain a kindergarten program at 20 kids in kindergarten, right? And so that's an interesting conversation that we have. And so please come to the budget meetings that you'll see. Each budget meeting, I talk about enrollment and what that means for class size because, right, we are conscious of the fact that if we continue to go down from 2,800 to 2,600, we don't need class sizes, right? And the same number of teachers is really what I'm saying. And so we are trying very hard to put incentives in so that teachers retire, right? And then we can have a balanced budget when younger teachers come in. And so we really dig deep into that. And like I came from West Seneca. I had to lay off 24 teachers in West Seneca back in 2015, and that was horrible. And when I got here, we looked deeply at enrollment, and we also predict births that are attributed to Grand Island, and we look back at the 5 years before they get into kindergarten. That's kind of how deep we look at this, because we want to ensure that we're not overspending on teachers. Does that make sense?
Well, it wasn't about overspending on teachers. There are 100 less students than in high school than when I went to school here.
Correct.
There's so much more to this public school. To me, it feels like you're treating it almost like a private school because there's so many amenities here that the public isn't allowed to use because they're just not.
Oh my gosh,
For many
I would
reasons.
debate you on that.
Oh,
For many
well,
reasons.
so we discussed that on Monday, and I told you we would talk about that at the joint meeting.
You and I are talking about the pool. I'm just talking about other
Well,
things
that
in
was
school.
general, this is for the capital content.
Okay, but I'm just talking about enrollment here, and that's okay. It's all part of it, because it all feeds into the next thing. It's all connected, the whole thing.
Well, I guess I would encourage you to come and look at our board meetings or watch the videos because we do a deep dive on enrollment. Like for at least 3 to 4 board meetings, it's discussed. So it is something that we pay attention to because I don't want to be that superintendent that lays off 24 teachers in
Right,
grade.
I don't want the teachers
Yeah.
laid off either, but maybe there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Brian, I'm a little confused on the 69.2 million. How much funding would be coming from the state?
Yes, at least 71.5% comes back in building aid on this number. It could be as high as 72.5.
What dollar figure?
Well, also, we're taking our capital reserves and applying it. So the question is, of the 69.2, approximately how much is the state giving us back?
I don't have that number right in front of me, but we can deduce quite a bit of it. So, you know, we work with the financial advisor, as Dr. Graham said at the beginning, Dr. R.G. Timms, and they really help us play this out, like, to the minutia that we can at this point. So they're looking at all of our things, our maximum cost allowances that I referenced earlier. They're looking at what our aid is. They're looking at what we have in reserves. And they're timing those things out to put us in the most favorable position. So I talked about that debt service reserve. The best time for us to spend that is going to be like in the 2027 year. So they really help us time these things out to minimize the tax impact. So how much of that 69 million is going to be from the taxpayers? In addition to where we're at now, it's hard to put a number on that, but if I had an estimate, well, I mean, the impact is going to be 34 cents. So how much extra is it going to cost you personally? Whatever your house is assessed at, multiply it by 34 cents. That's what your individual impact is going to, it would happen that we estimate. But as Dr. Graham said earlier, we tend to go worst case scenario on this. Okay, we don't want to. We try to come to the public with confidence that we can do the scope that we feel that we need to get done within this budget. Our hope is that we come in under budget, but this is a do not exceed number. So we can't come back, if we want to do more work, we have to come back to the public for another vote. We can't go over this 69.2 million without your permission. We can't do the 69.2 million without your permission. So you have to vote on this. So your individual impact you can calculate. Like I said earlier, if your individual assessment is $200,000, you would pay an additional $68 in taxes for this project.
Is the 34 cents based on the latest 100% reevaluation that was done?
Yes, correct. Yep. We did make that adjustment from earlier presentations to reflect that. Yes, sir. Did I answer your question?
So that approximately 20 million would be coming from the.
I would guess that, yeah, correct. So, yeah, if you want to look at the building aid, so almost 3/4 is going to come from them, about 1/4 from us, just for simple purposes. So, what, 17.5, 18 million, something like that, over, 15 years' time.
Some of you may want to go home, see if the Sabres have won. Do we have an update on the Sabres? No? Okay. All right, we have a question in the back.
Once the 20 million plus the debt that's paid on the 20 million is paid off, I've yet to get a letter that say we're reducing your taxes because we have paid something off. When does that stop?
There's another capital project.
When does that $68 for the half a dozen homes on Grand Island that are worth $200,000 stop?
Never.
Well, there would be another capital project.
Oh, you'll come up with something else good. But
Yeah,
you'll ask
we will.
but you'll ask for more
We
for
will.
that one.
We
But we're still paying the $68 on our $200,000 house.
From your house. Do you have a budget?
I understand,
Do
but
you
once
plan?
that's paid off.
Right, but that happens at your house too. A hot water tank goes, a
Right.
furnace goes, right?
But I've already paid off the first thing that I needed to do.
Correct.
And I've paid it, and I don't have to pay on that anymore.
Right.
And they send me a thing that says your loan is paid off. You don't have to send a check in anymore.
Right.
But I'm gonna keep getting charged $68 for my $200,000 house for the rest of eternity until I sell the house?
It'll stay in the budget.
Yeah.
It'll be,
Stay in the budget,
it'll be,
just like
it'll
the
be in
water
the,
meter.
the levy will stay.
Just like the water
up.
meter.
And then the next capital
just
project
like
will
the
be
water meter.
34 cents more.
More, exactly. It's like the tolls
And
that
that's how
we're
we
paying
get to where we're at
for the
today,
roads
where-
that have been paid off forever, but they still keep collecting the tolls.
All I can tell you
Yeah.
is that it's important to maintain these facilities.
I understand,
for
but we're
proper
borrowing
teaching and learning.
$20 million, and we have to raise $20 million.
Yes, correct.
All right, but once the $20 million is paid off, there's gonna be another one, but they're gonna ask for another 30 cents on another $68 on my $200,000 house.
Yes.
You got it.
Right.
By the time this is done, there's gonna be another capital
Yeah.
project.
I don't understand why, once it's paid off, that doesn't stop.
Just stay the same.
That
Yeah.
collection doesn't
See if Bob
stop.
can help. Take it.
So part of the reason why this project is so big is because it's been 7 years since we've done a project. Okay, so it's bigger than a typical size project that we would do. So if it was a typical size project that we would do, we would hope to have no tax impact. That would be our goal. But because it's been 7 years since we've done a project, and there's so many needs, that this is why we're coming to the public. We're mandated by the state to provide warm, safe, dry buildings for our students to learn. If we go any longer without doing a project, the prices only keep on going up. So we have contracts to obligate to, and construction costs just keep rising and rising and rising. So the more we kick the can down the road, the more expensive these projects get as well. But as Dr. Graham said, we have to maintain them. The boilers don't last forever. Air conditioners, any of these things don't last forever. They wear out. You got to replace them. And that's just the simple reality that we face. The boilers that we're replacing in the elementary schools, I think we did a big boiler project in the 90s, so it's time to replace those. We're past their useful life based on our building condition survey, and if we don't, we're gonna get nickeled and dimed trying to repair them, because if you pay to repair them lately, it is expensive to get anything fixed, and often You know, if you gotta keep fixing it and fixing it and fixing it, you're gonna spend more in repairing it than you would in replacing it. So we really try to work hard to keep things maintained and up to date. And as Mr. Marino and myself went through the building condition survey for days and days and days, because there's so much information and pictures. Young and Wright did our building condition survey for us. They go through the entire building. They go in the ceilings. They look at the intercoms. They look at the plumbing, the electrical, the floors. They're in every nook and cranny of every single building in this district. And they give us a report of all of this. And then Phil and I went through and said, all right, as well as other people, these are the things that we have to get done. We can't let them go any longer. And, you know, the whole building condition survey, if I recall, I think the total cost of all the repairs that were identified in there were about 160 million, something like that. It's just not cheap to do the work.
It's well said. All right, so should we at least say by 8:30, we will answer individual questions if you want to stay? So we'll take on another 10 minutes of questions. Is that fair? Okay, let's go here.
I just have two questions. How many districts, we check and see how many districts in Irish, New York, Irish schools are all fully air conditioned?
Oh, yeah, so the question is, how many other schools have air conditioning? I don't have that exact number for you, but several do. I'm not saying they all do, but several.
Minority or majority?
Probably, I would say probably the minority. But now, Tonawanda City School just built a brand new elementary school at Central Air, I'm not kidding, right? So it's something that is a part of the, you know, the thinking in Western New York to move in this direction. Again, you know, I was in a third grade classroom today, and I talked about that I would be talking to the public about this project. And one of the kids said, well, we don't want to be sweating in the classroom when we're trying to learn, right? And I just thought that was sweet. An 8-year-old said that to me today. So it's just something that we should be considering seriously for proper learning.
My last question would be on back to the turf fields again. If Highmark Stadium's going back to turf, and we're going to see more and more NFL teams going back to turf, isn't that going to be something that the schools are going to have to follow because the kids are going to, parents are going to demand it?
It's a good question, but what do we do about the clay? Because I can tell you, we've been spending, and since 2016 when I got here, the first thing that was on my desk in July of 2016 was a civil rights complaint that we were not properly allowing our girls softball varsity team to play here. We were shipping them to Veterans Park, right? And we had an Office of Civil Rights complaint. And so we invested money in building a softball diamond that they could play on, and they couldn't play on it. And we put drainage in and everything, and we couldn't play on it. So I do think this community is unique with respect to the way this island is made, and that's why we moved into the turf realm. But I think that's a great question. Jennifer, is it Jen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first saw this project come up, I was a little confused about why we already have a fifth of our budget, our annual budget is capital, and this is in addition to our annual school budget. And what I'm hearing is it's because only there's this pulse of every 5 years or whatever that you're doing inspections, and these projects are all coming from that. Is that correct?
I think there's some partial correctness to what you're saying. We don't have this money in our budget to make these improvements, right? And the state has to approve the designs of this work. What Bob said earlier, every year we can do $100,000 of a small capital outlay project that's approved by the state. We get about 75% back on that spend, but $100,000 is not enough. Phil and his team are begging the state to raise that to $250,000. So right now, the legislature has not allowed that to go from 100 to 250.
So we're limited in how much we can build in the schools, like
that's approved by the state. Phil's,
state aid.
Yes, Phil's team is here to do buildings and grounds work, custodial work, fix things, you know, fix a pipe that's broken, and that happens all the time in our budget, right? But when we want to put a new roof on the middle school, that's not in our budget.
And you need approval.
70% of it.
Yeah.
That's the good news.
70, almost 72%.
What else can you put in this deal?
Yeah.
What else needs to be done? That's the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, we want that state money coming back because you have all given the state the money.
What happens if the town votes it down?
It's not the town, you mean our community votes it down?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad scenario. We just have to redo it and look at what we would change and.
And I had one other question. I was quite surprised to see the vote is not on a Tuesday. I was just curious why.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Tuesday.
It doesn't, but most of us think, oh, Tuesday, that's the day to vote.
Okay, just, I'm being blunt, put it in your calendar, come in December. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Okay, good.
Is the boiler working here, by the way?
Is it hot? Is it cold? Yeah, I know, it was 68 degrees, now it's 69.
Get that thing in the proposal to fix that.
And remember, we're winding down at 8:30.
So as part of the water issue wetlands, is there wetlands behind the high school? Is that part of it?
We do have wetlands behind high school, yeah, we do.
Okay, so my question about veterans, I know the town is approving a $1.2 million drainage project. Is that something that can be done here to help with a grass turf in the future? Is there a drainage project that can happen?
Maybe, but you're sitting on clay.
I know, but
But that's
we're
a-
not the only community that's facing that issue.
I don't know, I'm just telling you, we invested in a brand new softball field that we couldn't use.
Like our football field, it's
Oh,
4 courts, 4 football things,
You think they're gonna fix
and
the
it's in
drainage
Grand
system?
Island.
Yeah.
And we have 0 issues.
Gotta ask the
That's
question.
awesome, that's awesome. And we were sending our girls
That's in
to
the summer.
Veterans Park.
That's in the summer. The kids are playing softball starting in like April.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the,
And that's a really good point.
Even-
We can't
even-
even go out and practice
But
in
even
April.
now.
But now we can.
yeah, even now, it's fine.
Well, good, that's great. But I can tell you, our kids can now walk out, girls and boys, it's equitable, and begin practicing right away. We don't have to fuss them, right? It's a good deal. And honestly, you contact me, I'll walk you through and show you what we've done. It's actually remarkable, and people around Western New York come to play because it's so great. And we're hosting sectionals, and that's actually revenue that comes back. Not a ton, but it's revenue that comes back. And it's because of your investment, whether you said yes or no, right? Your investment is returning dividends for our children.